gentlemen, welcome to Before the Bell, presented by Troy's Roofing and Construction in partnership with Sports Combat News. My name is Brian Willett, and today on the show, we have a professional mixed martial artist from St. John, New Brunswick, who has a fight coming up on January 26th. Please welcome to the show, Garry Brownn. Garry, thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome for having me.
So Garry, you have a fight coming up January 26th on Elite One MMA's Bitter Rivals card, and you're facing Mark Hebert in the lightweight division. But your past fights have all been welterweight. So what was your decision to drop down to the lightweight division?
I always want to fight at 155. I usually walk around at 170. So this is going to be my first weight cut.
Oh, so your other fights at welterweight were just basically your walk around weight.
Yeah.
So are you do you have a meal prep plan set up for this camp? Is that
Just eating healthier. I usually eat pretty bad when I'm not fighting.
So this will be your first weight cut. So how are you, like, are your coaches helping you start to cut weight now? Is that something that you're concerned about, or is it you feel like it's going to be pretty simple anyways?
I think it'll be pretty good. My goal is to get down to 165 and then cut to 10 pounds.
All right, all right. Well, that'll be interesting to see you down at lightweight because you're a beast in the octagon as is, which means you were just walking around at that weight anyways, kind of step off the street, walk in the cage type deal. And now you're going to cut some weight, walk back in the cage heavier. So do you think that's an advantage to you going into this against Mark Hebert, maybe having extra weight on him?
I wouldn't say it's an advantage because I think we both plan on standing, but we'll see what happens.
So talking about, kind of planning to stand, I guess, is a little bit of your game plan. What do you typically focus on in training camp? Do you bounce around the Maritimes to different gyms, or do you just stick around St. John?
Just at one gym. I'm at Jay Chang's Taekwondo, training with a couple guys. But we do a separate thing by ourselves.
Okay. And is that pretty typical for you when you're doing your training camps? You just kind of stay in that same area?
Yeah, I just stay in that same area. I've been off and on there for the last 2 years. I take my summers off. I play baseball and stuff, so
kind of an all-around athlete, if you will.
Yeah.
And let's talk about your kind of taking time off. Your last fight was 2017, and then your fight that was against Alex Paul, and before that was 2015 against Matt DeRoche. So, is there a reason why you take such long time between your fights? Is that personal preference, or?
Well, this is just a hobby. I just do this for the fun of it. So I'm not like the other guys. I'm not. I just come in here to have fun. I don't need to fight all the time.
So this is just something that you like to do on the side, and it keeps you busy and keeps you healthy, right? Because you're training for it.
Yeah. If I have a fight, it makes me want to not eat junk food and all that stuff. So
I guess it's a good reason, right? It keeps you healthy and keeps you watching what you eat. So talking about doing this as a hobby, do you have aspirations as an MMA fighter? Like, is there something bigger that you want to do, or do you kind of just want to stay on the local cards and fight as you go?
I just local and just take it one fight at a time.
Yeah. So you have a record of 1-3. Does that, I know we're kind of talking about this being a hobby, and sometimes records do challenge athletes. Does your record make you want to keep fighting to try to get into the win columns more, or does your record even matter to you because this is, like you said, a hobby and it's just something that you like to do?
Yeah, I'd like to get a winning record, that's for sure. I'm 5-5 as a MMA fighter, but 4-2 amateur, 1-3 pro. That's the way I look at it right now.
So you had your amateur career, I believe that you fought for the Cage Rage belt as you're at the end of your amateur career. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you kind of went off of that, fighting for that belt, and then you went pro, which obviously your record is not showing what you're hoping to attain. So what are you doing differently going into this camp for that Mark Hebert fight on January 26th? Are you training a little differently, working ground game, more stand up? What does it look like for you?
A lot of stand up. I like my stand up. But I got my training partners training southpaw for Mark. Because yeah.
And is that? And I didn't look in to see what your other opponents were, but is this your first southpaw?
Second. I fought Storm Miller before. He was an amateur, but he was a southpaw.
So, you know, being a hobby, like what do you do? I'm not going to say maybe you're not, maybe you are a professional baseball player, but what do you do for a living? What do you do to make some money?
Construction work. I'm a laborer.
Is that something that you've done for a long time? Is that, kind of your typical go-to? Do you get laid off in the winter? How
Yeah.
does that work?
I'm still working right now, but I'm usually laid off in December. But I'm uptown at that big urban building, so they're keeping me busy.
So you've had an extended work season.
Yeah,
So
busy, really
keep
busy.
keeping you busy. So how do you find time to balance your work life and your training life? Is that do you train in the morning work and then train at night type deal?
I'm training right now. I'm training. I like to go to I joined the YMCA. I go there in the mornings, and then I go to the training. I usually make it 4 to 5 times a week to training at night.
Um,
So I jump up, I get home from work, and then pretty much eat, and then right back out to train.
so I mean, it keeps you busy, and I'm sure it gets hard to fit all that into your schedule, but you know, um, you show your skills when you get into the octagon and how well you put everything together as a fighter. So, what got you into MMA? And you say it is just a hobby, and I say it's a rarity when I talk to people. They say, hey, you know what? I just fight for fun because I like to
Yeah.
stay healthy. But what got you into the mixed martial arts?
Somebody asked me to fight one time, and I just said okay. I don't know. My first fight, I never trained. I just jumped in there against Adam Grant back in the at the it was at the club there that they had their first show
Right.
there. Jeff Gallant had his show there,
Wow. So
or
so
Steve
truly
Williams and
just for the passion of it, right? Hey, Gary, let's have a
yeah,
fight. And you kind of, literally walk off the street and step in the octagon. And here you are, you kind of obviously spark some love for it. You enjoy doing it. So what does, I'm going back and forth, but, we talk about being a hobby and you kind of go as you please, but what does 2019 look like for you? Do you want to fight more than just the one time, or is it, you're going to play it by ear?
play it by fight. If I win a fight here, then I'll probably take another fight, and we'll see how I feel in there. If I feel good, then I'm gonna keep going. If I don't, I'm gonna probably shut her down.
And so leading up to this Market Bear fight, that's January 26th. You do face Market Bear. What do you think your advantages are going into that fight?
Hoping my strength, but we'll see. I'm not gonna underestimate anybody just because Mark's small. Like he might not even be smaller, but I'm saying is I'm not sure.
But you are
Yeah,
a striker, right? That is your focus. And I've
yeah,
seen your past fights, and that's kind of that obviously is your go-to stand and deliver, and go punch for punch. So do you think that's an advantage to you? Mark has a good jujitsu game. He likes going down to the ground. Are you training to
yeah.
defend that at all?
I train a little bit, but not much of that. But I never worry about that. I just go in there and enjoy it.
You do your thing, right? You enjoy the lights, you
Yeah.
enjoy the fans. So coming from St. John, what does it feel like to fight in Moncton? Do you have a lot of family or friends that come down here to the casino to watch your fights?
Yeah, I'll probably have 60 people come up. That's pretty good for me.
Well, I think that's a great turnout, and having that local support, right, is really important. So something that has been brought up, and a lot of people have been asking me, and they want me to ask you this question: where does the nickname Downtown come from? So downtown Gary Brown, you kind of see that everywhere. Where does that nickname come from?
Uh, well, I grew up in the South End, and my friends, I don't know why, they just start calling me downtown. I, I didn't, I thought it was weird, but my friend Adam Slattery actually gave me that nickname when I was a kid.
And it kind of just stuck with
But
you.
yeah, I don't know. A few people always call me that, and some people, I don't know where they got it, but it's what I go with now.
You have to stick with it, I guess, right? That's kind of the deal.
I like it too, so
Yeah.
I'm sticking with it.
So as we move, as you move into this fight camp, you're sticking to the one gym. Do you have a lot of training partners that you work with, or do you just have a couple guys that you just go in and spar for fun?
Just a couple guys. I get just my coach, uh, my team, two teammates, and that's it.
Okay, and you've been with them since the beginning.
Since pretty much the last 2 years off and on.
And where did you train before that?
Uh, I jump back and forth. I've been to Jays before that, but just doing like going to his night classes and
Sure.
just different things. In boxing, I joined some boxing clubs, but I always jump back and forth everywhere. I was never sticking to one gym.
So we talked about how you take a bit of a layoff, between your fights. There's a bit of a gap between each of your fights, and we often hear about ring rust. Do you believe in that? Is that something that when you step into the cage on January 26th, because you have been out of the cage for so long, is there fear of that ring rust and the pre jitters almost, and then having to work your way through that for the first round or two?
I'm not really sure. I never really just I usually stay calm and I usually don't get too worried about that stuff. I don't think about it. I just go in there. No, I'm not really sure.
You kind of just do your thing, right? You're just going in there, having a good time, and putting on a show for the fans.
Yeah.
Uh,
The only thing I want to do that's different from all my other fights is go. I don't want to go in there and just rush them. I'm looking to pick my spots and throw combinations. If you usually watch any of my other fights, I'm usually going for a big right hand, and that's pretty much it.
right.
I've been working a lot on combinations and moving a lot, and I want to mix it up in there.
Oh, and that's good, right? So do you watch a lot of your own footage, after a fight, just to see like maybe what went wrong or what did you miss, kind of thing?
No, I never do, but I know my mistakes. I know everything I did wrong.
So you kind of just play it by ear every time, which I think is great. You're kind of really trying staying true to that. This is a hobby, and I'm doing it to enjoy it, kind of mentality, which I think is fantastic. So Gary, before we take off, do you have any sponsors that you'd like to give a shout out to, to thank before your upcoming fight on January 26th?
I didn't get any sponsors for these fights, but I'd like to thank my coach, Aaron McInerney, and my teammates, Travis Johnson and Robert Young. They've been working a lot with me, and I appreciate it. I'd like to thank I'd like to thank all my friends and family that are buying tickets off me coming up to support me.
I think that's awesome, and Gary, I think this is going to be an all-out battle when you guys step into that octagon, and I absolutely look forward to seeing you and Marky Bear face off on that January 26th Elite One MMA Bitter Rivals card at the casino here in Moncton, New Brunswick. And again, I'd like to thank Troy's Roofing and Construction for presenting today's interview with Garry Brownn. Troy's Roofing and Construction, where the customer comes first and they do the job right the first time. Call Troy at 506-693-TROY. Garry, thank you again for being on the show, and I look forward to seeing you step into that octagon on January 26th at the casino when you take on Marky Bear.
Thanks for having me.